Say that's my colleagues, but also, I think they come into here. I'm gonna just one. Some of these. Or 24.
Hi guys, ready? Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, January 15th, 2026 school committee meeting. We've just returned from executive session. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting with a roll call of the school committee. Michelle Kirkby here.
Leah Brown here.
Will Horn here.
Sophia Viglet's here.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open public input. Members of the public are welcome to comment during the public input, either here or through Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand. We ask that you keep your camera on when making a Zoom comment and that you follow school committee policy for public input, including speaking for no more than 3 minutes and only on topics under the purview of the school committee. And whether you're here in person or in Zoom, please state your name and address for the record.
First spot, 7 Kerr Street, especially since I don't believe you're going to take public input as part of the budget. I felt it was important to make some comments now. So it's just some facts. On December 2nd, our superintendent implored the warrant committee to look at local receipts in an effort to not be so conservative. And he used the meals and excise taxes as noted as examples. The chair of the warrant committee noted that using those examples for revenue, in the end, $43,000 won't balance the budget. To which the superintendent stated, no, but it's going to help. Regardless, the superintendent asked for a warrant committee to look at local receipts just as an exercise. So now I ask our school committee to do the same with school choice, just as an exercise. Especially since your workshop back in June, Steve Callahan of the warrant committee presented a slide that included school choice as one example of revenue used in other municipalities. So if you're looking at laying off high school teachers, and we have the lowest enrollment at the high school in decades, at 713 students now, why are we not going through that exercise? Opening up even just 25 seats would surpass that local receipts number that was thrown around as $43,000. It may not be a lot, but as the superintendent said, it would help. Our superintendent submitted for the Medfield State Hospital student cost analysis a marginal per student cost of $3,800 to $4,200. 2 different analysts involved with the project agreed that the $15,000 per student figure just wasn't a fair representation. The reimbursement rate for each school choice student is $5,000, and the district gets an administrative fee plus additional funds for special education costs. It is not mandatory to enroll siblings unless a lottery is planned. Then they must be admitted in advance of that lottery, assuming seats are available in the grade. Most school districts hold their school choice hearing along with the budgeting season. Why are we not doing that now as we evaluate the numbers? As part of Newton's budget evaluations last year, it put forth important data about the impact of class sizes in every grade if the teacher cuts were needed. I have a copy of it here. This is also important information to consider as part of the school choice analysis. In the end, what I'm asking is no different than what superintendent asked warrant committee is to go through the exercise. Considering that the school budget represents 3/4 of our entire town budget, and the teacher cuts are on the table at a time of collective bargaining, you as a committee have a responsibility to explore all avenues and not automatically discount them because they don't serve some kind of bias or agenda, especially when no data has ever been presented on school choice. So I'm just asking, in advance of the public hearing on the budget, just do the exercise. Please just do the exercise. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment, public input? One online?
Yeah.
Owen, can you bring over whoever's raising their hand? Oh, sorry.
Hey, Lucy, please state your name and address. Lucy,
Yeah,
we don't hear Rowan.
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, shit,
Okay.
okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Lucy, could you state your name and address for the record?
Oh, yeah, my Lucy Song, 小青 Song. How should I do the address?
You're okay, go ahead.
I'm okay, okay. Do I have to show the video?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we can see, yeah.
That's
You're okay. Just state your name and address and your comment, please.
Oh, I'm in the what address? You mean the Dale Street or my home address? What address?
home
Yeah, your
address.
home address.
Home
please.
address. Oh, 9 Belmont Circle, Belmont, Massachusetts, 02478.
Belmont, Massachusetts?
Yes.
You know you're in the Medfield School Committee.
Teacher.
Teacher, oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand now.
So just have to-
All right, do you have a comment?
Not really, not so far.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Any other public comment? You can come to the mic if you have a comment.
Is there a mic? Is it?
TV, we don't have them tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So I'm Morgan Reynolds, a teacher at the high school. Admittedly, a lot of budgetary things go over my head. I think of my job as, being in the classroom and caring about that primarily. So to be told we're asking for more money, but also losing people, it is hard for me to wrap my head around that. However, it is clear to me that what benefits students most is a smaller classroom size and retaining staff who care about them. And beyond that, the necessary infrastructure of our school. I don't know if it is possible to see the budget or how it's itemized, and I'm sure it goes above my head, but it doesn't make sense to me that I understand cost of living increases. I understand longevity with the way things scale. It does cost more money, but it just can't be that what to do is to lose staff. And when it is looking at the English department with the teacher who has been here the least, that is me. And to be told one day, thank you for your 100% passing AP scores. Thank you for caring about the students who need the most help on the other end. And then the next day, maybe you're gone. It makes me feel bad.
Thank you.
My name is Megan Danielski. I'm the lead teacher in the RISE program, one of the programs that are probably most at risk at this high school. I didn't prepare on speaking at all. Dave Worthley usually speaks for me. He is the creator, I guess, of the SEL program. But inspired by Morgan's candid remarks, I'm going to speak very briefly to say this. I work in a program that was given almost no guidance and created entirely by me. I have an army of students behind me and parents who will speak and attest to that. I work in a unique capacity. I was an English teacher. In fact, I started as an English teacher here. So I know what that role is able to do, but also isn't able to do, simply doesn't have the time to do, even if they want to. Dr. Marston gave Dave and I the opportunity to create a space that was the students. It was framed under very particular guidelines, absent students for medical or social emotional reasoning. And we have adhered to that for the most part. But there's a secondary component to RISE, and that is what I like to call the RISE community. And that has what has sustained us, and that is the army that comes behind me, and only the reason that I'm able to stand and say these remarks at all. These students return back year after year after year, period after period, lunchtime, before school, after, as much as they can, because this is where a group can come that doesn't have a room of one's own.
Unknown caller.
And they finally got a space that was just as unique and adaptable as they are. It is designed solely on the premise that we accept one another for who we are right at that moment. And that is the only requirement that happens when a student comes through the room. We accept that person. We explore. We have the time and the space to educate in a way and support in a way that we're just simply unable to in the classroom in the traditional capacity. I will spare you the details about how it has affected my life, how I have seen the benefits to humans in front of me now and in the decades since we started. You should see the humans you have helped create. Only through this room, through this space, to be able to create who they are, to explore who they are, to accept. I thank you for the opportunity, especially Jeff. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to have this room. It is important because kids grow when they are given space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? No. Oh, and I think Diana's online, if you wouldn't mind promoting her. All right, we will move on to consent agenda. Dr. Marston, I'm turning it to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have on the consent agenda, approve and retain the executive session minutes from 12/18/25, approve the 12/18/25 regular session minutes, approve the release of funds for the Madeline Grant Scholarship for $3,000, and then donations $2,092 to the Interstate Photo, from the Interstate Photo Studios to be deposited into the Dale Street gift account, $1,744 from the Interstate Photo Studios to be deposited in the Wheelock School gift account, and $5,119.50 from the Medfield PTO to be deposited into the Memorial gift account for bus transportation for the kindergarten field trip to Discovery Museum and the first grade field trip to Trislock. I ask that you approve as presented.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on anything in the consent agenda? Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes. All right, moving on to the Blake Middle School solar project and roof replacement discussion.
Diana's online.
Oh, okay, sorry. We're just gonna do a roll call vote with the consent agenda. Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Will Horn, yes.
Sophia Nicholas, yes.
Diana,
Diana Frischella, yes.
thank you.
Thanks for having us. As you guys are all aware, the Blake roof is in need of replacement. Michael and I have been working a number of different ways to try to find an avenue to limit the cost of that roof to the town. Tonight, we have a few representatives from Innovative Roofing and a representative from Sunrock that will try to detail a scenario that the school committee, I'd like to entertain a scenario where we put solar on the roof and through that project, we get a brand new roof with no cost to the town. What the ask is today of the school committee is to listen to this presentation and approve the signature of a SOI to move forward. And there's no obligation when we move forward. We just need the approval on an SOI so we can pursue this project. I'll let Frank speak to that first. We'll have the roofers speak about the condition of the roof, the existing roof briefly, and give a brief scenario as to what kind of roof they want to have installed. And then we'll have Frank from Sunrise discuss the finance part briefly.
So I just want to say one thing. So I want to honestly thank, Rob here for doing a lot of the work, but the town, has a capital 20-year plan that is beyond, what they can afford. And, we were tasked with trying to find solutions on how to create possibilities of doing projects such as, the accelerated program with the SBA or other avenues to promote saving money, especially we know going in tight years that for the next 3 or 4 years that the town is going to be in. So, working with the consultant and Rob and Frank, there is a solution out there that will be proposed tonight where we can get a brand new roof at the middle school with zero cost to the town. It's been done in other sectors. We would probably be the first, correct, right? We would be the first public school in the Commonwealth to do it. So, there's a little risk there, but we'll talk about that risk. We also spoke with Penny, who works for Eversource, is Vice President of Eversource, who lives here at Medfield and who runs our energy committee. And her team is also ready to help us in the avenue of looking at all the paperwork and making sure that this project, if it moves forward, that the town is, again, another set of eyes on this type of project from a lens of someone in the profession who works, who lives in town, and works for Eversource.
Yeah, how's everybody doing? My name's Frank Duro. I've been doing this for 40 years, right? There's an opportunity you guys have to take advantage of incentives that are being offered for solar right now that happen to be very, very good. And basically put those incentives to work to pay for the roof, right? We do this all the time in the commercial space. The team that I have assembled from my roofing partner, which is Innovative, and the suppliers that supply product are all in this together. We all are determined to deliver value. Okay. When you're in there to deliver value, you're not in it for any one project to make you retire, right? So you're able to do stuff like this. So in the commercial space, it's a relatively easy thing to do. Because the commercial company goes to the bank, takes out a loan, and then we show them the financials as to how the energy off the solar is going to actually pay back the debt on that loan, right? This is a little more challenging because the town doesn't have the funds to put up, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't bring in an outside finance company to finance the project and then they get paid back based on the energy it's generated, right? That's how lucrative a solar project can be, right? So why not put it to good use, right? So we came out here, we looked at the roof.
Jared gave us our numbers, and then it's just a number crunching game to try to figure out, can the energy that's going to be produced off the system and the tax credits that the system is going to produce, because renewable energy deployment gets a lot of tax credits, right? There's a tax credit directly from the government for the cost of the project. And then there's depreciation credits, right? So if you can find the right entity and the right partnership to put together, then they capitalize on those tax credits and then they sell the energy to, an entity, right? At a discount, believe it or not, right? So the projects are lucrative and we're able to put together, programs like this or deals like this. Now, like he had said earlier, we've never done it for a school, but I was challenged by an engineer. I was at a meeting, a Con Energy meeting for National Grid Eversource, and an engineer heard me talk, and I said, "Well, solar could pay for a roof," and she says, "No, look at that, you can't do it." I said, "No, I can." I said, "They do it all the time." She says, "All right, I'll give you a couple of schools to look at," and Medfield was one of them, right? I get back to her a few weeks later and I said, "No, the numbers work. We can do that. We can do it." So that's where we are today, right?
I do have a question around that.
Yeah.
I am curious on how that would work. I know that the yield is how big of a system do you think you could put on the middle school, and how do people usually need to make money, and how does that? What's your projection of production that would actually offset the cost of the roof? Because what's the cost of a roof, Michael, for the middle school?
Cost of this roof, I think it was $1,120,000.
Never mind that. Sorry.
So, Leo, if we had to go do that through the procurement process through the MSBA, the cost will go up because we have to hire an architect, we have to hire a
Prevailing wage.
We have, correct. So there's other things that come.
I was gonna say that sounded awfully.
Correct.
Okay, that's why I was curious. But that's why with the incentives decreasing by the government, does that still exist?
Yeah.
No, our numbers are prevailing.
Are they?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with that.
No, so it's a little under a megawatt, right? It's about 850 kW system.
850. Okay.
Right. And like I said, and there's a little.
That makes sense.
So when I look at the solar industry, one of the things I try to explain to people is the incentives are so good that oftentimes the solar representative will deliver to you an offer that's enough to get you to sign, but not all of it, right? It's unfortunate. And that's why I don't have to tell people I'm in the solar business, right? There's a little loophole here that we get to take advantage of, right? If we can sell the power to a municipal entity, then you get a benefit, you get a financial benefit. That's what makes paying that roof cost with prevailing wage possible, right? And still, you're selling it to the entity at a discount, right? But the state has a program that allows you to get a better incentive out of the utility when you sell it to a municipal off-taker, right? So we put all this stuff together and we mash it all up in the spreadsheets and we figure out, well, this is what we can afford to pay for a roof and make it happen.
Frank, can you explain the reason why we would like to see that letter signed?
Oh, so I'm sure a lot of people have heard that the renewable energy incentives, tax credits are starting to go away, right? So in July of 2026, the federal tax credit for commercial solar projects like this one, right? Because it's so big, it's considered a commercial project, will sunset, right? To lock that in, you have to have the project grandfather, right? Which means we have to have a utility and I'm glad you mentioned that about Eversource. We need to have a utility connection agreement with Eversource like 6 months before that, which is like right now. So we need to move ASAP to get, it's called an ISA, interconnection service agreement. We need to move ASAP on that ISA, get Eversource to give us that ISA, right? That way there, the finance company will plunk down 5% of the project cost. And we can grandfather the project, right? And then we don't have to have it built by July, right? So.
What kind of timeline are we looking at in regards to replacing the roof?
Excuse me?
What kind of timeline are we looking at in regards to replacing the roof?
The roof will get done right after we get the ISA. So it's just a matter of getting, could be, it's just a matter of getting Eversource to rubber stamp that in the connection agreement.
And I already spoke to Penny, who was aware of the project. We were trying to keep the project, low key until we presented it to the school committee, but she was aware of the project. I spoke to her today. And like I said, they're ready. She'll put her team on it to just review all the paperwork for us.
And the capital budget committee, have you guys looked at this at all in regards to like removing this as something that would need to be done?
So that's once we get the blessing from the school committee, because our policy now says the school committee has to approve all new projects. Once that gets done, then we can bring this to the capital.
And what was the cost of the roof again? I'm sorry, 1.1. 1.1. Okay, and then the cost of, do we get any benefit besides the cost of the roof? Because I know the power generation approximately of that system will approximately earn over time, and obviously have to pay for the equipment and everything else.
We get a discount, right, if they sell it back to us. So
For how many years?
Yeah, see, we actually get to give you a 10% discount on your electric bill.
Yeah.
Right? Because you would be the municipal off-taker. That's why this whole project just kind of works. It just gels.
Yeah. And then how many years is that agreement for? Is it just for the life? 20 years. And all the maintenance, like the inverters are good for like 10 years, right? So those all get replaced by.
None of that's your responsibility. That's right. That's all by the owner of the system because they're in it to sell you power.
Gotcha.
Right. So all the maintenance is on your plate.
And we already discussed about the current system that's on there, that it's not going to affect this system.
Gotcha.
And what percentage of the roof is being replaced? Because is it the entire roof or only a percentage of the entire roof?
We have a section we've already replaced.
Outside.
Except for the.
Yeah, so it is that
Yeah,
one
except for the-
section.
Yeah.
I'm voting on the hood for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Not even, so. Yeah, it's under 10%.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Thank you, sorry.
But we would need you to vote for us to proceed.
Do you guys have any additional questions? Diana, do you have any questions?
No.
So what's the SOI do for us then? Like it just allows you to get it in the queue?
Yeah, it allows us to go to National Grid, Eversource and prove to them that we're working on your behalf. Without that, we can't apply for the ISA.
Okay. And if 2 weeks down the road, people change their mind and what happens then?
No harm, no foul. Yeah. You decide you want to push it.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the SOI, and to allow this group and Michael to proceed, with exploring this option on the middle school roof.
Second.
Excuse me, I misphrased it. LOI, letter of intent, not SOI.
Yeah.
Moved as amended.
So that's all.
Yeah. LOI.
Hello,
Thanks.
we have a second by
Sophia second.
Here's, yeah.
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Will Long, yes.
Sophia Nicholas, yes.
Diana Frischella, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Next we have the FY 27 budget update from Martin.
Okay, so in your materials, I have an FY 27 budget update. The right copy I have here. As you know, we we put together a level service budget, and we presented that in December. That level service budget was an increase of 5.01%. And it was a $46,831,916 budget. The warrant committee has come back with a 1.26% increase, or reduction of 1.7 million and change. So I guess what we're tasked to do is put together a couple of budgets. One that is a 1.26% increase and what the implications of that budget are. And then another budget that would at least put additional funds back into that number. We're not sure what that number is yet because we haven't gotten any guidance on that. But we decided we're thinking 3.5. It's now changed to a 4% increase. So what we're doing is putting together a 1.26 and a 4% budget. And then when we do the budget presentation in 2 weeks, my recommended budget, even though I still recommend 5%, will be a 4% increase at that point. So we're not sure what the override's whether it's going to happen, what the percentage is going to be. I think Michael and I have talked about when we did an override in 2018 for FY19, we did it thinking that it was going to satisfy us for several years, and it has done that several years. It's not a one-time kind of override. If you remember, those of you living here back in the early 2000s where Medfield had 5 overrides in 6 years, we're not looking to do anything like that. We're looking to try to stabilize that and get additional funds so that we can move the district forward and continue to move the district forward. So we're a little unsure what that number is going to be. So as a concrete example, if we're going to get a 2.5% override, which was being talked about at the warrant committee the other night, I'm not sure that really does anything for us beyond this year. It certainly helps us out this year. We would support that. It would get us through and not have all the reductions we're talking about, but I'm not sure it does a lot for us in the coming years. So that's just kind of out there. The numbers they were talking about, whatever that is, even if they go to the larger number on the override from what they were talking about on Tuesday night, still requires us to reduce our staffing and our budget. So our current thinking, and I know that there's many teachers here that and they did a wonderful job during public comment. This is what I sent to them, something similar what's in your packet, which is kind of our current thinking and how we get to a reduction of $1.7 million. So looking at elimination at the high school of 4 FTE teachers, which would equal 351,476. 3.8 FTE teachers at Blake, which is essentially a cluster, which would reduce 323,271. Dale Street School eliminate 4.0 FTE teachers, which would be 353,730. Wheelock School eliminate 3.4 FTE teachers, which would be 301,941. And Memorial School eliminate 1.0 FTE, 75,000. Now, you look at it and you'll say, well, there's a lot more kids and a lot more staff at the high school. Why are you only eliminating 4 there? And it's a lot bigger than Dale Street, but you're eliminating 4 there. So we looked at it in a way of enrollment and scheduling, and we tried to figure out a way with the principals and leadership, like how does it work so that the least amount of damage is done to kids and the staff. So if you looked at, I think you and I will talked about this earlier, the high school is a lot bigger. The staff is, 2 or 3 times the size of what the elementary schools are, yet it's the same number of cuts. Well, I think we looked at what the schedule would be, and then looking at things like AP classes, electives, things that high school kids have that are really important and part of that experience, and try to minimize that, try to minimize what we reduce for options for kids. So I think that's how we got there. The Memorial one is only 1 because we have a 240 kindergarten class coming in. We have a couple of retirements in 1st grade next year, and we have a smaller class going from kindergarten to 1st grade. So Missy's going to restructure some staff there to make that work without adding teachers, but we still would look to eliminate 1 within that building. So the total reduction at this point is 1,405,621. Unfortunately, there's still additional reductions needed of 267,507. So areas that we're still looking at and reviewing and we'll consider and will be, I'm sure, in much more detail in a couple of weeks when we do the public hearing. Looking at athletic fees increase, restoring the full tuition and full day kindergarten at $3,500. It was scheduled, as we know, in our strategic plan to be free after this year. And it was scheduled to be 2,700 this year. Special education transportation, we are looking at going out to bid for other vendors and trying to get better prices there. Something you hear about in a little while, the new literacy program, K-5. I think that's a real important thing for us to get. And we need to think creatively on how we can either, how we can make sure we can expend those funds. It's going to be over $200,000. But I think there's been a lot of work with the elementary teachers, Christine, Jamie, et cetera. And I think that's something we need to focus on as a priority. Our committee work, whether we're going to have committee work going forward, summer R&D, which, you know, is a really important thing for our teachers and for our kids, that they do that work in the summer that always improves what our district is doing. And then we actually have some town technology expenses we're reviewing. So there are technology expenses that we incur for the town. So it makes a lot of sense, because if we purchase that in bulk, whatever that software or service is, we pay for that, and we need to kind of look whether we're going to continue to pay for that going forward. And I think some of the impacts that we see, just kind of, they're very obvious. Increasing class sizes K-12. When we look at the elementary, that's really removing one classroom for each grade level, to get those numbers where we're at and increase the class sizes there. Reduction in academic opportunity, especially 6 through 12. So if you're removing a cluster and you're removing electives and removing AP classes, that has a big impact on kids. One of the things that when I talked with secondary leadership is that, we could go back to the old Medfield where there were study halls and that kind of thing, and student schedules weren't full. I have no interest in doing that. However, that could be something that we would do. And then again, the reduction or elimination of programs K-12. So looking at programs that are core to what we believe in as our district and we think are important as a Medfield experience, and then kind of reducing those or eliminating those altogether. So that's, as we look at that, I mean, it is what it is at this point, as far as the numbers that we've been given and what the process we need to go through. It's not pleasant. It's not what we want to do. We don't want to sit here and dismantle a school district that we've worked so hard to build the way we have. I contend that when I look at other districts around us, we don't have the coaches that in different areas for mathematics and language arts that all around us do. Every year you ask me, what would you add? I would add teaching coaches. I would add additional special education staff. I would add additional SEL staff. All these things that we do not have that other districts have around us. Yet it's a little embarrassing that we're being asked to do 1.27, quite frankly. And anyway, so that's kind of where we are, and happy to answer any questions. We'll obviously have a lot more detail in a couple of weeks when we do the budget hearing and we present those two separate budgets, but I'm happy to answer any questions you folks have.
I appreciate you mentioning, because I had questions right away about the teachers and where, because with the numbers and all that, how the high school is big. And I says, what? I don't know if this is totally fair to ask, but I'm gonna try. If I'm sitting at home watching this, and I can't see that there are like 30 teachers here, and I hear that every year we want more than we have, and now we have to cut. What is the best? How do I voice my, I don't even know this, sitting here, but this is the most desperate situation we've had this is only my third year doing this. But so how does a town member, how does someone who lives here, how do we find more money before the override? Or what do we do here?
I mean, I guess just pay attention, get educated. I mean, we've had conversations, and again, the warrant committee will hate me for bringing this up, and they won't, they don't agree with what I say on this. I mean, there is reserve money in this community. And in the 13 years I've been here, we've used reserve money to offset the operation budget, and our bond rating hasn't changed. We stay where we are. These are rainy day funds, and it's pouring. I mean, let's be real about this, and just trying to look at advocating. There's warrant committee meetings. You can advocate for that. You can advocate here with us. I mean, there are times when you have reserves. And the example I always give, when I had 2 kids in college, I wasn't spending much money. because I had lots of tuition, right? So you didn't put any money away. You paid your bills. And now we got more than 2 kids in college here, folks. We can't pay our bills, but we got a lot in reserve that we don't want to touch because someday. And I think someday is today, and I think it's ridiculous that we're not tapping into that. And there's papers being written and being shared of why we do what we do, and I get that from their perspective. I get it. However, I don't understand that people come to Medfield for the schools. That's why they come here. You ask anyone that moved here, you ask all of you, why did you come here? You didn't come here for the fire department, no disrespect, the DPW, no disrespect, or the lot. You came here for the schools. And you pay for what you value, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it. So it's very frustrating because I was a superintendent in 07 and 08 in another community during the recession, and that was bad. This ain't the recession, folks. This is just, we need to do a better job around here and just, I don't know. It's just really frustrating.
I would echo, Jeff, what you're saying. Like, I'm very disappointed with where we are, because I do feel like sitting on the school committee and understanding what a lot of people in this town care about. I think that the schools are being deprioritized in this budget season. And to your point, Will, I think it should be people understanding that, like, we don't make our own budget on the school committee. It's what the warrant committee wants to give us and what the select people care about. And I think that as a voter in this town, which I am, for me, it's like being made very clear that obviously our select board and our warrant committee do not have the same priority as many people who have kids in this school system or even don't have kids in the school system have already gone through it, but we're able to be proud of it. And I think that we are in a point where they're trying to dismantle it. I'm disappointed to see us have to remove teachers, or where do they want us to go? Do they want us just to cut all spring sports and say we don't have sports anymore, or cut our amazing music program for people who, that's their area, or not have a theater program? Because that's another option. We can start cutting the teachers who support those things and have a bare bones school that just focuses on academics, which I think is the most important thing. But I think to make a really thriving school system, you need to look at everything. And I feel like we're being asked to cut the things that I think matter most to a lot of people in this town. And I do feel like we are being asked to do an override and for the schools, but there is free cash, and I think people should be trying to understand why, as a town, we can't use some of that when it seems like we're at a point we do need it for the situation we're in.
I would just add to that, Diana, that $500,000 of the free cash that's in there right now came from Chapter 70 money that's earmarked for the schools, but because of the timing, we've talked about this a bunch, because the timing of our town meeting in the time that the state finalizes their budget, our budget is done in May, the state finishes in end of June or July. The number that we base our budget on in May from state aid is less than what comes in July, right? So the last couple of years, it's $498,000. Well, that would help us today.
That's like, what is that, Jeff? 5 teachers?
Would help us today, and it's in free cash right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just things like that we brought up, and just need to talk more about it, I guess. But it's just frustrating.
Well, thanks for answering the question. We need, as someone who was not that involved however many years ago, I've been doing this for 3 years. To whoever listens to this or hears it, we need to fix this. So if it's, we need to get louder and talk to the warrant committee. We need more teachers, and we're cutting teachers. We're all here for the schools, for our kids. We're going backwards in a bad way. And it's really, really, what would you say? It's pouring. We're in a desperate spot. There's 30 teachers here because they care about our kids and their jobs, and they know they need more help, and we're cutting them. So whoever's out there who's not paying attention, anyone I get on a soccer field, it is bad, and we need to find money. We need an override. We need to find free. I'm not an expert on all the town stuff, but I know there's some money there from what Jeff and Diana are saying. But I appreciate all of you being here. So I just want to say that, and I want to say to all the people that live here and moved here for your kids to get educated here by these people, we need to start showing up here because there's 30 people here. I don't think two of them have kids in the district. So we need to show up for our kids and we need to find a way to get through this budget season. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I know like 5 of us sitting on this committee can't do it alone. That's what I say.
Can you talk a little about, the 4 teachers at Dale and how that would impact class size? Because I was just looking at the enrollment and one of the classes is the bigger size and the other one's a more normal size. So do you have estimates on what that would look like?
So we looked at, we tried to stay within your policy. That was our goal, to stay with, but we really can't at the younger grades. We look at Wheelock, it doesn't stay within your policy. It gets it to 23, 24, 25, which obviously isn't ideal for elementary. We want to make sure we'd like to be in the high teens, low 20s, which we've had for a long, long time. And then when we looked at some of the enrollments at the high school, we looked at removing courses so that you're looking at 25, 30 kids in a class, and it's just not what we do here. It's just not what we do here, and it's just really frustrating to see, what's happening with this, because I think that we've done so well the last, X amount of years in this district, 20, 25 years or whatever. And we've had our ups and downs with budgets, and we've had them here, we had an override in FY19. So that was a tough year as well, but we were able to keep what we had, add where we needed to. We actually added positions that year. And this is really just, dismantling things. It's just taking things apart. So you're looking at class sizes, which I know are important. I mean, I think it's part of, again, that Medfield experience where you're almost like in a private school with some of these classes, right? You're in high school in your math class, and there could be like 9 kids in your AP math class. I mean, that's what we do here, and that's what we've always done to make sure our kids have, what they need. And now we're looking at maybe not even offering those courses. So I think across the board, you can have class sizes going up, which I know is a touch point for a lot of parents, that they want lower class sizes. And I think that's what we want as well. And certainly the teachers want that, for sure.
And when you have implementation of study halls in there, how does that factor in from a monetary standpoint?
So it really won't cost you, because what will happen is that if someone has a preparation time or a meeting time that they have now in their schedule as a teacher, then instead of having a course, if we're not running courses, then that person would be asked to go to the cafeteria or to wherever to cover study halls. And kids would just literally be, in there doing homework or whatever, or not. So they wouldn't have the rigorous schedule they have now. And that was before, and that is here, and Matt has told me about, that's what it was before, and that's what we don't want to go back to.
And how does that impact then post graduation?
Yeah, good.
Right.
We haven't done the math on that yet, but yeah, sure could. So I guess that, we're looking at this from a perspective on what our kids need, what our teachers need, what our staff needs, and we still haven't got to what everyone needs, and now we're cutting back on.
Right.
So.
And then for the cluster at middle school, do you have a notion right now of what grade that would affect?
We actually looked at it yesterday, and we kind of modeled it out with 6th, 7th, and 8th in different ways. And one of the things that we looked at was we're not sure yet. I mean, we think that there's pluses and minuses, because the class size would be smaller at the lower end, but then the kids would be older and it'd be more of a transition, to high school at the upper end, so it'd be larger classes. So we did look at the class size there between like 23, 24, 25, 26. And there could be, because of scheduling, there could be 18 in one class and 32 in another based on kind of the schedule, but you're taking away a whole cluster there. So that's really impactful. I mean, we've always said the cluster model is great for kids. It's best for kids, but it's expensive. So, we don't want to go to a junior high model, which would look very different. That would be really going backwards. But I think that's, one of the things that Matt and I threw around as well. It's just not good for kids.
I don't think, in my opinion around class sizes, to refresh those, that's one of the reasons why I'm here. It has to do with class sizes. But that was a long time ago at this point. And what I do fear, and often happens, is that this community does care about the schools, and I've worked in school districts where that has been the case. And politics of it is, the spotlight is thrown on the schools for cuts so that people come out and vote. And I think that scare tactic annoys me on to no end. And then it's a 1-year patch in this case. And I think that one of the things that I feel like if we were to go on a joint override with town and schools, I think that it would be, it should have a multi-year agreement like the last time, I believe. And I do recall that being done. I'm reading here that it doesn't even cover level services. And I think that's kind of, I think that's just putting a Band-Aid on it. And so that if we're going to go through this process this year and not have to worry about going every year, that this process should be flushed out, with the consideration of the state aid that comes in brought to the table. And I know that you and Michael have those numbers from the past and can predict out numbers as they come in to be more transparent in that process year over year. And that was a lot I just said about, in general, but the bottom line is that I think without that, I think perhaps that we should even consider an override just for the schools and the school operating budget as that point. To Will's point, I want to echo that it does mean that, it's important if you live in this town or if you don't, that we show up at warrant and select board meetings because you're all here, and hopefully you're here to support us because we're here to support you. But frankly, I think you're here preaching to the choir, right? And really, we should all be at those meetings to make it known, and that should be part of the conversation. I'm not adverse on cooperating with the town, and I'm not adverse to going in with a strategic plan. And I think that this town's gotten a little better at long-term planning. But again, if I'm seeing that the Warrant Commission is discussing a budget that doesn't even cover the gap for this year, then we're just going to be back at it next year. So, and I think that would be more strategic for us to do so. That's my 2 cents on this. And obviously, this is the first go, and this will be in play all town meeting.
Yeah, and I want to thank all of the teachers that are here and listening online. We know that these conversations are really tough and personal, and we understand that, and we thank you for everything you do and for being here tonight. I reached out to Senator Becca Roush, Representative Josh Tarski, and Representative Marcus Vaughn, and invited them to our March 5th meeting so we could talk a little bit about kind of the challenges we're facing and the pressures that our budget is facing, because, while this is a Medfield problem here, it's actually not, right? Like there's a lot of municipalities facing these type of challenges right now because of the rising costs. So we've heard back from some of them and they'll be here. So, anybody wants to join us that night to talk with them, they will be here. And we also will have our budget hearing on January 29th. I guess a little to Will's point, anybody listening now or later this week when you're walking your dog and you listen, or secretly listening at work, as I know some of you guys do later on, feel free to reach out to us if you have questions or comments. I understand that not everybody wants to come to a budget hearing and stand in front of everybody and voice their questions or concerns, but you do have 5 committee members that
Happy to answer questions.
Dr. Marsden also is always here to answer questions or talk to people. So please feel free to reach out to any of us if you want to talk further or get a better understanding of things, or I guess just let us know your thoughts or questions or things that you want.
So we will also have our budget flip book going out like we did last year. So that'll be out before the public hearing. So probably the Monday, Tuesday that week. That's our goal. It might be Wednesday, but we're still working on that. But it will be 2 budgets. Will be the 1.26 and the 4.0. So.
I think the gentleman earlier during open comment asked about a line item budget, which is open information and should be available on our website.
It is. Yep.
Townwide as well.
To your point earlier, Leo, about using it as a scare tactic, and what Dr. Marsden said earlier about the last time was 2018, that was also specific to me. I was, I think at that time it was 2 years here, now it's like 10. But it was my job then and my job now more specifically, probably. So, if the point is to encourage people to vote, there is a fact that is perhaps not considered and that it's scary to be.
Well, and I know you probably heard stories from some of the veterans in the room of the days where pink slips were common every year and then hired back, especially after Prop 2.5 took effect. And, I would say in the time of my career that hasn't actually been very common. And many of you who probably may not even hear those stories anymore. But, it is part of our government. It does, at least in the places where I live and work, education is important. And so I appreciate all of you mobilizing here. And then we're hoping that people at home will mobilize as well. We know people care about the schools here. And like I said, willing to work with the town as well. But when we're hiring, when we have this on the doorstep right now, we're hiring new staff on the town side and we're looking at cutting staff on this side. I don't think it's a great look. But that's not to say that I don't think this town will step up and support both the town and schools if it is transparent in what it's doing and has a long-term impact so that it's not this story every year and not psychologically impacting the morale of our staff when we have to every year around April say, hopefully we'll see you next year, but here's a nice slip. So thank you again.
I would just add too that, I know there was a number thrown out earlier in public comment about, 43,000 for meals tax or whatever. The actual, just to put this in perspective, the underestimation of revenue over the last 4 years is over $7 million. Okay. So I don't get excited over 43. I get excited over 7 million. So that's what we're talking about. Underestimation of revenue is over $7 million in the last 4 years. So that's a lot.
Anything else? All right, so looking forward to seeing a lot of people at our budget hearing on January 29th, all the people here or listening online, and if anyone has questions or comments or wants to chat about anything, please feel free to reach out to us. So thank you again to all of the staff that are here this evening. We very much appreciate it. We're gonna move on to AI guidelines.
I was wondering, Madam Chair, could we do the new elementary literacy first? I know some elementary folks in the room, so they'd love to hear that part, and then they can.
Okay, moving on to new elementary, going out of order and moving to new elementary literacy, and then
Christine and Jamie. Sorry, Christine, did I put a curveball there? Sorry.
That's right.
You're right, take a second, hold project. Yeah, sorry. Or
Are you trying to zone put it on zone? Yeah, I've mentioned that.
Okay,
I just share your screen.
yeah.
Oh, there for you later. Probably got one.
You sent me my phone. It's a request, so to share. Sharing.
Experience.
We need to write about Christine too.
That's fair. That drops down.
Everybody, thanks for that.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today about the ELA literacy program and specifically about our exploration into curricula. I'm Christine Power. This is Jamie Callahan. We are very honored to speak to you today. So just to set the stage and just put a grounding foundation on things, everything we do is really based on the Medfield Public Schools mission, and here it is here. And as we talk through, we're going to really go through the scope of a multi-year pilot process, and just please know that it is very much embedded in all the values that you see here. Now, a couple of things just to lay the groundwork. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different things, including the genesis and the foundation for the pilot itself, the pilot process, our actual recommendations. We're also going to walk through the program itself and then talk a little bit about implementation at the end. So first to start is the need. The need actually has its roots in right after the post-pandemic. We really thought at that time it was really important to get an understanding of ELA curricula and really understanding curriculum instruction and assessment in terms of what is going well and what is areas we can focus on. Our consultant looked at our K-5 program and at that time really identified two major areas for us to look at, one of which is the foundational skills, looking specifically at our phonics and our literacy skill programming, K-5. And the second is that we needed to adopt a high-quality core curriculum program. So at that point, we started the process. And part of the process was that Jamie and I applied to be part of the DESE High Quality Instructional Material Network. This was a network that was set up by DESE. It really provides us the structure in order to really have a comprehensive preview and looking at a pilot process and really helping us with implementation itself. It was a hugely valuable experience and it really helped guide this work. Part of that also, and I'm really happy to see a number of folks here, is a member of, we established a curriculum committee. Curriculum committee was made up of members pre-K through grade 5, one educator per grade, as well as reading specialists and special educators. They're providing their unique perspective from their grade level in terms of what our needs were for curriculum, what worked well and what didn't. And they were hugely valuable. I want to thank you for your work all throughout this process. Our job in the beginning was really to review the curricula. There are a number of different curricula out there, and we really started with our priorities and our parameters, really understanding what our needs were and how we conceived them. And then at that point, once we got that information, we really narrowed it down to a number of curricula in order to pilot. The pilot process is really straightforward and something that we've done multiple times with great success in the district, which in this case with elementary, we selected 3 teachers per grade. This enabled them to form a planning group as well as have colleagues to really bounce ideas off and really get to know the program as well. In addition to the 3 educators per grade level, we had reading specialists and special educators to form this larger team. And each team was in charge of implementing 1 to 2 units. That allowed us to really understand the whole of a particular program, everything from the launch, the curriculum itself, the activities, and the assessment, and really provided really rich data and really helped us with understanding on how these programs would work here in Medfield Public Schools. So we went through the pilot. We went through 2 iterations of the pilot. The first iteration of the pilot, although we identified 2 specific programs to review, we realized that both of them were not a good fit. One thing that was a really good outcome of that was we really honed down specifically what our priorities were, and that was key. In this past iteration, with these final 2 curricula that we reviewed, we understood that what worked best for us were these 3 main things, and I'm really highlighting these for a purpose because you're going to see us refer to these time and time again. One is to maintain the use of Foundations. Foundations is a highly regarded literacy skills program that you can see right there. You will see at the chart at the bottom left. This is from the Reading League showing its evaluation, really highly regarded, focusing on phonics.
Just
Yeah,
pick
that's
the
right.
bookworms on the Zoom.
It's on the Zoom.
Okay.
It's on this one, on the
Okay.
Zoom.
This is the Zoom.
Yeah, so it looks like it's moving on the Zoom, just not on the.
Yeah. You're all out of
Okay.
luck.
Can you see from
Oh,
here?
here it comes. Okay. So, yeah, I can see it. I just wanted to, I didn't know if it was okay to keep proceeding if it wasn't projected here for everyone else. So, the approach and philosophy of this particular program, I think it's important to know that it was developed in a university setting by a university researcher. So many other programs that are developed by different, program developers, not necessarily literacy researchers. So this program was developed and through the University of Delaware, in conjunction with the University of Delaware, with Sharon Walpole is the researcher's name, and it is based on her experience and decades of literacy research. The features of this program specifically, students K to 5 are reading carefully kind of curated content-rich texts, and they have that opportunity to read texts that are connected to science and social studies, broader science and social studies topics, not necessarily connected to the science and social studies topics that are connected to our standards, but just giving them opportunities to build their background knowledge of the world. It does prioritize explicit instruction and, like I said, rich knowledge building experiences. All of these instructional practices are grounded in the science of reading, and the instructional routines are very coherent. They are simple and not, I don't mean easy, but they are simple, straightforward, and I think it just brings it down to what is the most salient, important, essential aspect of instruction that we want to see happening in classrooms. There really is no fluff. It brings it right down to what do we want to see for consistent, coherent instruction, classroom from classroom to classroom, grade to grade, and it is open source, which is a benefit. The goal of the whole program obviously is not just to build proficient readers, but is also just to build students who understand what they read and build their background knowledge. And there's a great Forbes article that kind of gives some more information about the program for anyone who's interested in kind of learning a little bit more. It's 2024, so it's a couple of years old, but it's interesting. And then just quickly, by way of structure of the program, structure of the curriculum, the way that it would look in terms of implementation in the classrooms, there are kind of 3 main buckets that we would be looking at for our literacy instruction. There's a shared reading. There's a portion of the day called shared reading where students would have access to grade level rigorous text that they would be reading whole class all together, full intact texts. That's where they would get their grade level vocabulary instruction. That's where their rich, in-depth text comprehension instruction would happen, and where they would be doing their responding to reading with those texts. There's another portion of the day called ELA. That ELA instructional time is where interactive read alouds would be happening around trade books that are a bit potentially above grade level. There's also some vocabulary that would be part of that instructional time, but the other kind of main aspect of that ELA block is standards aligned grammar instruction and the writing instruction. So there's rigorous reading instruction during shared reading, and then the writing grammar during ELA. And then that third bucket is where we find our skills instruction. K to 3, it would be foundations. 4 and 5, we intend to use their scope and sequence and kind of follow the skills that are mapped out for bookworms in bookworms ELA there. So that kind of gives just a quick overview. I mean, it goes more in depth than that, but that gives a sense of what students would experience. All right, looking at that.
Okay. So our process really to evaluate the programs was incredibly rigorous. It was really important that we capture the voices of multiple stakeholders. So not only did we capture from our teachers, but students in grades 2 through 5 provided feedback via survey, as well as parents and guardians. And we analyzed each curriculum's impact through multiple lenses. We really looked through 3 major areas: ease of use, meeting the needs of all learners, and student engagement. So I'm about to present a bunch of different data. I really try to narrow it down to the key parts, but please keep in mind that those are the three specific lenses. And you can see here for bookworms, it was incredibly positive for teacher survey data. And you'll see it here in terms of the average mean for the ease of use questions, the meeting the needs of students, the student engagement, and the overall score, that's 9 out of 10. So incredibly popular with our teachers. And this for me says it all. And part of that, we had a focus group. And it was well attended. We had almost every single teacher who participated in the pilot say that. And I asked I asked many questions, but at the very end, I asked them, what name 3 words that really describes the curriculum from your perspective? And this is a word cloud. So as more people say it, the word gets larger and larger. You can see right here, this tells it all in terms of what the teacher's voices say. It's engaging, inclusive, fun, appropriate. So there's many different things that really pointed to how positive the teacher response was to that. Student data, we have a number of different surveys, but for me, what really popped out at the end of 195 on this was the quotations. The students themselves provided their written responses, and it was pretty powerful. I love the one from grade 2. I love that Henry and Mudge was so good that I might get it from my house in the library. Thank you. And for me, that really encapsulates the love and joy. Kids have books in their hands and they really enjoyed the series and what they were reading. And then parent data, although we had a small N, there were a number of really interesting comments there. And you can see that just in terms of the positivity, especially over, I heard so much about Walk Two Moons, that book that was good. But you can see that that HMH reading is the other text that we piloted in this go around, and this parent was sharing that the other child did not like that one, but loved bookworm.
And so regarding what we hope, with your support, if you choose to support us, which we hope that you do, our recommendation for an implementation plan is to use the rest of this school year, use the spring professional development that we have planned this year to really orient teachers to the program and get them prepared for a full implementation next year. So we have a number of half days that have already been scheduled that we hope that we can use as literacy focused professional development. We also have monthly curriculum meetings that are building based that I would like to use for the focus to be on getting ourselves prepared for an implementation next year. And then I also attend the common planning time meetings, typically monthly, and I hope to be able to use that time as well, and that would be grade level. So it's really nice that like some opportunities K-5, some opportunities that are specific to the building, and then some opportunities that are specific just to the grades. I think that we have the time to really make people feel prepared so that we're not coming back in August and saying like, okay, like here's your new curriculum, like have fun, like everything goes well. And you know, like there's, and that's cool. It's going to feel that way anyway. People feel like that, even if we do all this preparation. But that's our intention, and with the goal of being able to fully implement next year. And by doing that, I think it just enables number one to give all kids K-5 an experience with the new curriculum, which we absolutely, I think we're at a point where we need it. It honors the effort of all the pilot teachers. I love them dearly. They have been like so wonderful to work with these past 2 years. It reinforces the student feedback that we've been getting. I mean, the students have been very clear about what they like and what they don't like and what they want and what they don't want. So just to be able to even honor that feedback, and it satisfies the recommendation that we received in 2022 from our outside consultant who did our review. And it gives us an opportunity to gather to gather data if there's a potential waiver. Sorry. So these are all the, you know, that's where we are. I think. Yeah. Thank you.
So I just want to wrap up. Thank you so much to you, the school committee, and to Dr. Marsden, the leadership team. Thank you. And especially to the teachers who've gone through this. Is a lot of work in terms of the training, the implementation. Also special thanks to the families and the students themselves who helped us participate in this pilot. We really think that the process itself is incredibly rigorous. And I think at the end, we really have a program that is best suits and best supports learning in Medfield Public Schools. And we're really happy to have this opportunity to share this with you.
Thank you, guys. So I'm just gonna say, I had a kid that was in this pilot, and they adored bookworms. But I think the thing that really stuck with me is, I was driving carpool and I had other children in the car that also were in the pilot program, and they could not stop talking about the book. And between all of my children, I've driven them and their friends lots of places, and I don't think there's ever been like book club and so I think it really does it is like a testimony to how engaging the book was that they were reading, and how engaging just in general the conversations were around it. So I'm personally excited on that. You guys have questions?
And there's a lot of us here that are pilot teachers, if you have questions for us specifically.
I appreciate the diligence of looking through a variety of curriculums. As a child who had to read about corn for more days than he ever wanted to.
Last year.
So I appreciate the this doesn't work. We're not just gonna say yes, we sort of, we did the work, so let's just kind of keep it moving. I guess just a question I have about the survey data is, was there any discrepancies in terms of at different grade levels in terms in how these numbers play out, right? Like that's the average, but was it more did it meet the needs more in the younger grades and the older grades, or were there any major discrepancies?
Yeah, no, really great question. I'm gonna geek out a little bit. Actually, it was very consistent, K through 5. There were a couple outliers here and there, but there was nothing that you could tell from the data that looked like, for instance, that the Dale Street teachers preferred it more than the Memorial teachers, for instance. It was really relatively consistent, and I think you can say that when we did the focus group at the very end, it was pretty much.
It was
unanimous.
Yeah. That was not the case last year.
No. It was an unexpected experience, like a happy unexpected experience.
That's the best kind.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
We love the 2 years.
You do it again.
I don't know. I am excited to start something.
Okay, okay.
That's the
teachers are really
excited to start something. Especially the ones that haven't had a chance to pilot.
Right.
You guys have any other questions?
Good. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve the bookworms program? Let's see. Yes, do I hear a motion to approve the bookworms as the K-5 literacy program?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Theo Brown, yes.
Rowan, yes.
Sophia Nichols, yes.
Diana Frischella, yes.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Last thing, Sandy Callahan has been phenomenal. It's been incredible to partner.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
Great job, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna turn it over to Leo. I have to step out for extra.
All right.
Boy.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, we're gonna go really quick. Yeah, we're gonna fly through this.
All right, we're gonna move on to AI guidelines, and Christine is going
Thank you, Mr.
to.
Chair. Christine and I are gonna go through that quickly. We're gonna be very quick. Let's fly through the slides. In your materials, you had the final version of the AI guidelines, which I know we've worked on for a while. And I think it's something that our teachers wanted, and it's something that is evolving every single day within education. So,
Jeff, I think people are readjusting to hear more about AI guidelines.
Yeah, I bet, yeah. Thank you, everyone. So I think it was an important thing that we're ahead of the game in this, and we're able to work with MIT on this, and it worked out really well for us. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, and I'm going to not go through every slide. I think it's important that whenever we start, whether it's we're talking about our budget, a new curriculum, or something like this, the guidelines, that it's all embedded into our core values of the district. These are the adult behaviors that drive what we do each day, and certainly we actually had a whole. When we worked with MIT, we had a whole exercise of working with our core values and how they align with AI. Our core beliefs with AI, you can see those there in your packet. I'm going to scoot through those. I think one of the things that were really important was the need for the guidelines with AI, because they're kind of all over the place. Teachers want to know what we can do, what we can't do. Kids want to know the same thing. There are many districts now that are working on something similar to this, and we feel really good about the fact that we started earlier and we're able to get this done. It did come about while we were working with MIT, and that was really kind of serendipitous of a meeting that I was at with a former commissioner. And he asked me if Medfield would be interested in working with him with Day of AI and MIT to do some work around AI and what the guidelines and policies may look like. So that was really an exciting time for us. We got MIT in here and had several meetings, and we worked with a really good group of students, educators, leadership. We had Tim Knight was our school committee member that attended all the meetings, and that's right up his alley. He loves that. So he was a really good part of that committee. And we did it during the day. We had students in there during the day too. And it was really a great way to kind of flesh out what the beliefs were around AI and what some of the, especially some of the, and I know that Christine will go through it. They were parts of the exercise that we did where we got to see what are your values around AI, and is this okay to do, and is that okay to do, and can kids use this, or can teachers do this? And that was kind of the process we went and why it took so long, is to really flesh that out so that we had solid guidelines that both students and teachers and parents could see that made a lot of sense. So I'm going to go to.
That's me, yeah.
See how fast I did that?
That's good. I agree. Yeah, thank you. But one thing with the guidelines development, so the working group is made up of 30+ people from all across the district, including students. And we developed, by the end, we had actually a draft that was formed. We actually worked through, but it was really important to get feedback. And that was because there's so many people involved, and it's really impactful to their work. So we had multiple feedback opportunities, not only administrators and department chair meetings, but department discussions. I sent a survey to our grade level leaders at elementary to get their feedback as well. One of the most impactful days was the December 10th half day PD, where we had an opportunity to have discussions. We had representation from elementary to all through middle school and high school. Every middle school and high school teacher attended that. And then we had an opportunity for cross-building and then within the department discussions. And they provided incredible feedback, and it was also provided via survey. Now, this is just a lens in terms of and this is what Jeff alluded to. It was a opportunity for folks to really look in specifically and say, here are these different scenarios. Is this AI okay? Is this something that our students can do? Is this something that they can do with caution that they need to cite or is it not allowed? Because one of our overall goals is to make sure that we provide these guidelines, but don't exist right now. And so to really make it more clear. Also, this example, teachers had an opportunity to provide written examples that were not conceived of as well. And so they did this massive sorting. They had these exercises, and they put everything on a slide deck where every single department reported out. We had a full one. And then at that point, I took all the information, analyzed it, and realized that there was a lot of cohesiveness and a lot of similarity across all the departments. And that really enabled me to really insert that into the overall guidelines that were developed to provide these buffers, these boundaries, and this clarity that our teachers, students, and other stakeholders really sought. So what this is, it is a clear shared framework. It provides these guardrails. It is really meant to support really active learning, but also academic integrity. It is not a ban for AI. That's the one thing making it very clear. It's really important that AI is here, AI is with us, and we have to realize that our students, in a very appropriate, developmentally responsible way, that they learn to engage with AI and that they're very successful in using it, but also keeping the academic integrity intact. And so this is not a one-size-fits-all rule book as well. You're going to see a lot of delineations in terms of grade level, for instance, appropriateness, and then it allows that that area, is this okay or is this not, to provide that more clarity on that.
And one of the things that MASC, especially, we had gone to their conference, and Michelle and I had both gone the last couple of years to AI workshops they had there. And they're not recommending really to, at least they weren't then, to do a policy on this because it's ever changing, right? It's one of these things that you could do a broad-based policy, but it really wouldn't mean anything. By doing these guidelines, it's really clear to both students and teachers, what the stoplight tells you, right? And what you need to do and how you're going to use it. So
Yeah, so 6 guiding principles. This was created by the AI working group, and this really helped guide and provide a frame over our entire work. And here's where it really breaks down. It was really important for us to have a representation for our elementary folks. So we used the scope of the student data privacy guidelines in order to make that delineation. So grade 8 to 12 is one group and pre-K to 7. There's incredible work that's being done right now to provide really thoughtful digital literacy and exposure to AI in the elementary level, and we wanted to provide that guidance. So here's just a glimpse in terms of that the students can engage in using elementary kids as well as up to grade 7 can use AI tools as long as it's under teacher supervision and it's under district approved tools. These are things like Padlet, which now has an AI component, things like Canva. So that is definitely can be done, and students are getting exposure and getting a really thoughtful education in this. And it's very clear to say there's going to be no independent or no at-home use at this level. 8-12, it gets a little more robust, right? So AI can be used as long as it's committed within the framework. We'll talk about that. Jeff mentioned the traffic light. We'll talk about that. And some will require teacher permission. Some will not. It's but important that we have citations. Work very closely with Carrie Cowell, the library department chair, in terms of to make sure that everyone is aware of the
you won't.
Right when we're getting to the stoplight too.
Right.
It does the thing.
Sorry, Christine, we've implemented a 13 slide limit. And
14, darn it.
There it is.
That's not the problem.
Okay. And here's that stoplight we've been talking about. There it is. Academic integrity and accountability was incredibly important for this. And so that is mentioned. It's also in the 6 values that we have, but it's also here. Just to really drill down, it's that pre-K through 7, teacher supervision only, and 8 through 12, this is the stoplight. Need permission only stop, use and give credit, caution, and then okay to use. It's really just to really put succinctly, if there's any question or thought that AI was used or something, teachers are to start a conversation. I know there's a number of detection tools out there. They're not accurate or 100% accurate. It's a guide, but it's definitely not. You can't be 100% definitive. So therefore, we really made the stance that detection tools should start a conversation. So here's just some glimpses of what's in there. And again, this chart was a result of the December 10th PD, where all the teachers, participants really put on what they saw as okay, what is okay with permission and what is not okay. And so these are some examples of it. For instance, students can use without permission, can use AI to create a study tool, practice sheets, things like that. Can go over basic grammar and mechanics. This is spelling. This is grammar, vocabulary in terms of getting a definition for something, and use it as a research search engine, similar to Google. It is to provide a little more detail in terms of specific concept understanding, citations, and just a quick way of doing citations, as well as accessibility, really important. It was a really powerful tool to help, for instance, to do text-to-speech or adjusting reading levels, etc. Caution. This is something that the student needs to give credit. That's when it's a little more robust in terms of the editing feedback. It's more extensive, such as word choice, any sort of changing. It's when they need to let the teacher know that they used it. Answer checking, just if you're going to use it to double check their answers, they need to be really explicit about that. Summarizing content. And then the image creation is really important. Most of the teachers in that, vast majority of those teachers in that half-day PD indicated image, sure. But then it was visual arts, and no surprise there. Like, no. So I just wanted to make it very clear that they can use it to create a visual, but they have to do it with credit, except for visual arts classes. and then stop. This is where it's definitely no. There's a couple of things and they overlap, but I just wanted to keep the thoughts to make sure they preserve the teacher thoughts there. Idea generation is really important, and then brainstorming that really starts with the student self, not to offload it to AI. And any sort of expansion or any sort of refinement of that beginning genesis was really important, something we talked about in the AI working group, and that's something that is here as well. Anything in terms of final product generation, it's not like, here it is. You have to really demonstrate your work and something that's demonstrating knowledge and understanding. The critical thinking, that goes hand in hand with the final product in terms of really anything that really requires synthesis, analysis, evaluation, really needs to be done by the student themselves instead of AI. Demonstrating the skills being assessed, the teacher's very explicit that, for instance, it's really important for us to look at grammar. It's not okay to use a grammar checker on that in terms of if they are really demonstrating their skills, and replacing that. You can't summarize, you can't use it as footnotes. It's important to do that. And finally, it was important, our wellness department said, we do a lot of self-reflections. You can't do that to have AI. Answer only help, just get a quick answer on math problems, no, or any other problems. And of course, presenting any AI content as original work. There is also this, teachers themselves asked for educator use. We've got feedback on that as well. And so our teachers can use AI to create lessons and to different instructions, really strong on that, and to direct communications. But it's also really important that we provide clarity on that, specifically with grading. We actually wanted to broach that. I had a number of teachers ask me about using AI for grading. And so it was important for us to include that in, to make it clear that what is the expectation for everyone. And so we had a lot of discussions, especially department chair meetings and with leadership about this. And what we came up with is it can be used for limited formative objective feedback. What does that mean? Things like we normally in old days Scantron, those things where it's very clear. Or if it's something like, if it's an exit ticket and you're looking just to take a pulse, not like it's high stakes. It is not to be used for any sort of major grading or anything that's subjective. That the teacher needs to grade it themselves. And it's also important that if it is used, that there's transparency, that the students know that it's being used, and that and families are let know as well. And human-only grading is available upon request. So important, just to wrap up, not bad. For considerations is really about rolling this out. So really talking, Jeff and I talk about it all the time in terms of how we're going to let everyone know and making sure that communication is priority. So that is with students, educators, and families. The second piece is, and we've talked about strategy on doing that very soon on that. It's also to require continuous learning. We have a lot of different resources, and we're incredibly lucky to have that. We have our next DLD, you heard it from here, will be an AI theme to provide, again, really robust experiences for our teachers to experience AI and really deepen their knowledge. We have an incredible tech integration team. And they are phenomenal, and they're providing building level support, also PD as well. And then a technology vertical team is just about to launch in the spring, will really provide us an understanding in terms of how best to serve students and give them the knowledge. We're in the process of planning a family webinar as well, to just give them an understanding of what AI tools are there and how we're using that, to put a little more flesh on what we're doing. It's not just a state guidance, that we can give them an idea on how to use these technologies. And again, as Jeff said, the technology is evolving fast. So it's really important for us to document that not only stays here, but has some longevity, but we will continue to review it as on a regular basis as technology evolves. And that, thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, I do just want to say one thing, as being someone who's in the classroom and as kids, at the middle school, there's a last piece about the families there, and I don't know how we do it, but if there was, I know parents aren't watching their kids do their homework every night, but we've had technology contracts forever, but I just want to say, maybe there's something we can do there, in terms of the stoplight is so simple and easy to see with these, I thought this was awesome. I do really appreciate this, but just in my life, in my classroom today, a girl's working on English and math, whatever. We had other issues there, but her buddy's just chat it. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. right? So I say that to say it is so important for families to get behind this. And I know in the older grades, we are not watching our kids do the homework all the time, but AI is everywhere. It's going to continue to change. I think this is a great thing to have. I don't want to say starting place because I know we've worked so hard on it, but like this is a great thing to have. But in terms of our community and school, we talk about this relationship all the time and try to make it better since I've been sitting in this seat. This is a huge one. And so that stoplight's very simple. And so if we can check in with our kids and make sure, hey, is this a red? Should you be on that? Because last week, I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I see my daughter just do this quick little thing. I'm like, what is that? She's like, oh, that's Google Lens. Like this thing I didn't even know that quickly grabs it and gives her the answer to a multiple choice question. So like, schools need help with this. So in the spirit of everything we're trying to do to strengthen our community relationships, this is awesome. It will be clear. I'm sure the teachers will do a great job explaining what light it is, what's examples of a yellow light and what's acceptable. But like to help our kids continue to learn and think, let's just make sure we're partners at home with the families. I know you mentioned it, but it was a little bit at the end. I think it's a huge deal because in my classroom today, one kid says, chat it, and one says, I'm not going to do that, right? And that's stuff that happens at home, and it's going to help our kids a lot. So I appreciate all this. I just wanted to name that it's like really a partnership thing as well. But thanks, guys.
My curiosity is, and I agree with everything Will said, has to be impacting everything around us, at an exponential rate just because of the access, right? It is what the internet was to us, the AI is to this generation, right?
Actually, a calculator maybe, but I'm a little older.
Yeah. Is that the big calculator? Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
Sorry.
I think that I'm curious as to how this is impacting, the thinking around assessment, particularly on that thinking made visible, approach, right? So, and it's not an answer for now, obviously, or a question to be answered now, but I think I'm assuming that this is having an impact on everybody on how we're assessing students because of that and the importance of the demonstration of that thinking made visible, so that it can be made visible in front of, right? And the impact that it has. And then I'm sure there'll be another story around, the use of it with teacher evaluation, right? How we're aligning outcomes and those things. Because there is a power. There's power in that tools and the data that you showed us before in finding patterns. And so I think it's a brave new world.
Yeah, we're all still learning too. I mean, definitely going through it and learning the capacity that has for sure.
This is awesome. And I'm glad that, we're taking let's teach our kids how to use it. And to families, it's a good reminder for myself as well. And I guess I have a few friends who are in higher ed and have commented about how they've walked into freshman classes and they've asked hey, what did you learn about AI? And they were all like, we can't do it. And they just felt like the kids were coming in freshman year at such a disservice because in sort of college and higher ed, they're looking at it like it's here and we have to teach you how to use it. And so I'm just happy that we're trying to figure out ways to teach our kids how to use it as opposed to just say, pretend it doesn't exist.
So in a couple of weeks, we have screenagers, the screenagers, right? So we're ordering that. I was talking to the creator of it and she said, hey, I'm just curious, what do you guys do with AI? Because that's our next movie is Screenagers AI. And I started talking to her about it, and then she put me on speaker with her colleague, who was another, person working on the project. And they said, "This is so great that this is the approach that you folks are taking. We're finding lots of people just going back to blue books, like that's what they're doing, and absolutely no writing outside of the classroom and that kind of thing. And that's just, as your point, it's a disservice because they're expected to in higher ed, and when they get in the workforce, they need to use it."
Yeah, we're both parents of college age. My son's a sophomore. You have a child in college as well. This is something that's real. My son is just sort of trying to navigate this piece. So if it's something that can provide a thoughtful education in terms of how to use AI ethically, it would really support kids beyond.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. God, what's up with this agenda? Calendar. Yeah. Next up is the draft 26-27 school calendar. In your materials, you'll find a draft of the 26-27 school calendar, and I asked Well, it's being asked by Dr. Marsden that it be approved as presented. Any particular standouts, Dr. Marsden?
No, I think that, it's interesting. This year, we typically start getting calls a little bit later than this, but we're starting to get a lot of calls from families, like, because Labor Day is so late.
Yeah.
They're trying to make plans or whatever. So I think, we put this together. It's very similar to what we have this year. The conferences are around the same time. As you can see, we would start, on September 2nd with students, and teachers would be the 31st and the 1st. So it's a week later than typical. We typically have that, the teachers come in the week before that. So same type of schedule, release day on that Friday, and then you'll see the winter holiday is long like it was this year as well, based on that. So I don't know if there's any other particular questions, but I think it's pretty straightforward. I do want to bring attention to Juneteenth. So Juneteenth is on a Saturday next year coming up. Next year. So we would celebrate that on Friday, and then when it's on Sunday, we'll celebrate that on Monday. So that's why the 18th is the day off.
Any questions on that? Diana? I get a motion to approve? You have a question on the calendar?
I do not have a question on the calendar.
Motion to approve.
Could I just add one part? So I just want to highlight the fact that we have a second page again this year that says, in the spirit of our core values and inclusivity, the Medfield Public Schools has chosen to attach the second page to the district calendar to increase awareness of various holidays celebrated by families in our community. The list, while not exhaustive, represents the days that are most significant to families in Medfield. Although these are not necessarily days off from school, each is an important reminder to offer our students flexibility as meaningful holidays present in students' lives. So I just think it's important that we started doing that last year, and we will continue that as well.
Motion to approve the 26-27 school year calendar as it's presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, Leah Brem, yes.
Will Horn, yes.
Yeah.
Diana?
Diana Frischella, yes.
Thank you.
Any other items?
We'll get that posted.
Thank you. Any other items since posted?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, old business. We have a second reading of and a potential vote on policy JG on the middle school pathway expiration. The policy subcommittee met yesterday, and we've had no changes to this policy since it was presented for the first reading on December 18th. Does anybody have any questions about policy JG?
No.
No? Okay. I think we can get a vote on this one. Can I get a motion to approve policy JG?
Motion to approve policy JG.
Second.
All in favor? Leo Brown, yes.
Will Horn, yes.
Yes.
Diana Frischella, yes.
Thank you, passes. This is the first reading of policy ECAF, security cameras in schools. Policy subcommittee met yesterday, and there were no changes to this policy since it was presented as an informal on December 18th. This is pertaining to the cameras on the buses. So we had an opportunity if you change your mind.
Correct. Next meeting.
Yes. Can I get an update on the mobile phone social media task force update?
Well, yeah, when screenagers again?
26th.
So the 26th, there will be a showing of the movie Screenagers, which does a great job kind of showing some of the science behind what's going on with that. So please come. The more the merrier. We'd love to fill the auditorium. We know that is a stretch for events like this, but what we're really trying to do, that group is really just trying to start a conversation, right? So it is 20 people-ish. Is that a fair number? Who are mostly parents, some teachers, some administrators, just trying to continue the conversation around social media and how it's affecting our kids, which I've said here before, I'm very passionate about. I think it's it's super important. The only other update I have is the wait until 8th. There's a Facebook group now. The numbers are growing. So as I said, I don't even know, 4 months ago, if your child says everyone has a phone, they are not fully informed. Right now in second grade, there are 35 kids on that pledge. Third grade, there are 34. Fourth grade, there are 27. Fifth, there are 30. And that's really that group we're focused on. The pledge is active for kindergarten and first grade as well. Sixth and seventh, there are numbers, but I mean, these numbers are 15 to 20% of your child's class. So if this is something you're interested in, it's challenging for you to deal with, please come to Screenagers to help get involved with this conversation. Join the Facebook group. And that's a lot of what I have. So
Yeah, we'll have a panel after Screenagers as well. So we'll have just really want to make it a community conversation and just maybe engage folks in conversation about what some of the battles they may have at home and some of the tips we might give for parents who have older students that have younger students now, and as they're going into that, that time frame. So.
Yeah, we're working on the panel, but definitely trying to find some parents that have kind of been through it a little bit, whose kids are old, maybe even some students that are older and can talk about their experience, how it's affected their mental health. So please come if that's something you are interested in.
What ages, like parents of what age or grade kids would you say?
It's really geared toward elementary, this particular one. We're going to have a series of Medfield Talks. It's the first one. The one we have in May will be more mental health for everyone. So this will be the first one to try to capture that age group of parents in elementary right now.
And what time? January 26th at what time?
It's 7 o'clock.
7
o'clock. Yeah, 7 o'clock. Yeah, there's going to be something going out on next Tuesday. A reminder. Sorry.
Popcorn and snacks.
Sure. Yeah, bring your own.
Fundraiser. That's a fundraiser.
No eating in the auditorium.
Yeah. Come on, Jeff. And with the return of Michelle Kirkby in a minute, we will hand this back. How much you want me to land the plane?
You can land the plane.
You sure?
Yeah, you know what's up
Anyway, yeah.
The school building committee update, Michelle and myself attended the meeting last Wednesday where we engaged in the process of finding an owner's project manager, where I was voluntold to join that committee. So I'll be representing the anyway, yes. So we'll be engaging that. That's an exciting process because this will really start kicking off once we have an OPM on board. They will keep the trains moving forward and start organizing us in the educational plan building process, which is where a lot of community outreach occurs. We also discussed a lot of conversation about the marketing. I call it marketing, but the community outreach to get people involved in this process so that they're aware and have decision making. And there was some conversation about Parks and Rec that can you help me clarify what some of the Parks and Rec conversation? I think it was their oh yes, I got it. So they're going to be engaging in their own process of a feasibility study using funds. They've made some clear decisions. And I've noticed, and maybe it's just my algorithm, listening to me of some sort, but I've noticed more social posts about Parks and Rec and from Parks and Rec, getting the word out, and more awareness, which I think is great, because I really appreciate the programming they provide. So stay tuned for more about that. There will be some in conjunction planning, as they engage in their process and communication with us and our process, as was my takeaway, I think. Was there any other ads?
No.
Community engagement and communication.
I would just point out that after the presentation from the high school folks about where they talked a little bit about the cost of Medfield and also about the ninth grade transition, I got to meet with the principal and both assistant principals to hear a lot more about it. And it was awesome to hear a lot of the very detailed and intentional work that they've been doing to sort of work with the 6 through 9 and what that experience and what that transition looks like and how they're supporting their ninth graders and trying to scale that back to, okay, what do they need in eighth grade? What do they need in seventh grade? So it was just great to see, the presentation was a little higher level. So it's great to see really some of the intentional work that they're doing, and the same thing, some of the work that they're doing about being very thoughtful about the cost of things in Medfield and what some of the next steps are for students. So that was that was great to hear about. And then just, I think the community engagement in terms of, PTO, they will be posting shortly, any open board positions. They're not on their website yet, but for parents who are interested in getting more involved in a different way, that will be on the website soon.
Is that something I know they talked about? Yeah.
I've been talking
Oh,
about
good, okay.
that for you.
Okay, good. All right, I'll send out an email. Yeah, good.
Informational items, Dr. Marvel?
The only items I had on there was I believe it was the quarter, we have the fourth quarter. Yeah, it was their update. And I believe we had the monthly, enrollment as well.
Spreadsheet. Yeah.
Great. And on the future agenda items, we have superintendent goals, school committee goals, my favorite, and strategic plan progress update. And our next meeting will be at the public hearing on January 29th at 6 p.m. Not to be confused with the 26th at 7 p.m. for teenagers. It's probably going to be a better take. All right. Dad, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Or is that, or do we?
That's
Location.
that's in the auditorium. Yeah, so that would be in the auditorium.
We'll see.
What is it?
He said sorry.
Sorry, folks.
Okay.
In the-
So I'll be in the auditorium for all those that
Yeah, this one will be well attended.
All right.
And not always. Anything else?
Good.
Getting a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
Michelle Christie, yes.
Leo Brown, yes.
We're one, yes.
Yeah, Nicholas, yeah.
Diana Frischella, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Diana.
Thanks, Diana.
Bye.
How was the piano performance?
You did great.
Good.
Rocking out.